The ancient ship returned from the deep, but its crew never truly left. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the observation deck, her eyes tracing the arc of the planet below. They had been on a routine survey mission in the outer solar system, mapping asteroids and monitoring cosmic radiation, when the sensors had picked up an anomaly, something massive, metallic, and drifting slowly through the rings. "Report," she said, her voice calm but carrying a weight of curiosity. Lieutenant Aaron Cho, the ship's sensor officer, adjusted the display. "It's not like anything in the database. Object dimensions are enormous. The material composition is unusual. It's clearly artificial, but I've never seen this design. It looks ancient." "Ancient?" Alina raised an eyebrow. "How ancient?" "Judging by the wear and radiation exposure, it could be over 5 centuries old. Possibly more," Aaron said. His fingers danced across the console. "But the strange thing is, it's intact, almost perfectly preserved. There's energy residual in the hull, low but present. It's like it's waiting." Alina exchanged a glance with Dr. Leora Vance, the ship's lead scientist. "Waiting for what?" Leora asked quietly, almost to herself. "That's what we need to find out," Alina said. The Odyssey altered its course, carefully maneuvering closer to the massive vessel. Its hull shimmered under the reflected light of Saturn's rings, sleek yet weathered, and marked with symbols no one recognized. As the distance closed, the ship's size became clear, far larger than any human design from the earliest interstellar exploration programs. It seemed impossibly advanced, yet abandoned. "Docking sequence ready, Captain," the navigator announced. "Airlock alignment is stable." Alina nodded. "Prepare the boarding party. Dr. Vance, Aaron, Lieutenant Calum, you're with me. Full suits, full scans. Let's see what's inside." The boarding party entered the airlock and floated through the void toward the massive ship. As they approached, the hull's surface shimmered faintly, as if sensing their presence. Small panels opened and closed in response to their proximity, though no one on the team could control it. The sensation was unsettling, yet oddly mesmerizing. Inside, the corridors were vast, silent, and filled with a strange, faint glow. The walls were smooth and metallic, but inscriptions glimmered like liquid light, forming patterns that shifted and changed when observed from different angles. Every step seemed to echo softly, though sound didn't travel in the vacuum. The suits amplified vibrations from their own movements. "This is incredible," Dr. Vance whispered, her voice trembling with awe. "The technology, it's centuries beyond anything Earth has produced. And yet it's almost organic. The ship feels alive." Lieutenant Calum, ever practical, scanned the corridor with a handheld device. "Life signs, nothing, no movement, no biosignatures. It's empty," Alina frowned. "Empty, yes. But why would a ship this large, this sophisticated, just drift out here and do nothing? There has to be a reason." The team explored cautiously, moving deeper into the vessel. They passed chambers filled with dormant machinery, long-abandoned control rooms, and storage bays containing objects that seemed both familiar and alien. Crystalline consoles hummed faintly, as though remembering voices long silenced. Holographic panels flickered to life when the explorers approached, displaying fragmented messages in a language they could not fully comprehend. Some symbols resembled human letters, others were entirely new, shifting constantly. "Doctor." Vance touched one panel and a faint image formed, a humanoid figure, tall and elegant, with glowing eyes and a serene expression. It moved smoothly, performing gestures that seemed to communicate something important, yet no words emerged. "It's a record," she said. "A memory of the crew. They're trying to speak to us." Aaron nodded. "Or test us. The ship responds to our presence. Everything here seems interactive, but interactively intelligent, not just programmed." As they advanced, a larger chamber revealed itself. The walls curved upward into a dome, and in the center, a massive console projected a three-dimensional star map. Points of light marked planets, asteroids, and distant systems far beyond the reach of any human fleet. Some of the points pulsed faintly, as if alive. The holographic stars shifted subtly when the explorers moved, hinting at a hidden network of information. This is a map of the galaxy," Calum breathed. "But some of these systems we've never charted, and these markers, they look like missions." Alina studied the map. The ship wasn't just exploring. It was planning, recording, maybe even communicating with civilizations we don't know exist. A soft sound echoed through the chamber, not mechanical, not human, but something between thought and vibration. The explorers froze. The light panels pulsed in response, and for a moment it felt as if the ship itself had noticed them. "Stay calm," Elena said. "We don't know what we're dealing with. Keep scanning." Dr. Vance stepped closer to a console, running her analyses. The energy signatures, their residual consciousness. Whatever crew was on this ship, they've somehow integrated with the systems. Their memories, their personalities are still here, somehow alive in the ship's matrix. "Alive but not alive," Aaron muttered, rubbing his temples. "It's like they're echoes, waiting." A sudden flicker of movement caught their attention. Holographic images of the crew appeared briefly, gestures, smiles, a hand reaching toward the explorers, then vanished. Each apparition seemed curious, almost playful, observing the humans as if studying them. Elena's heart raced. "We need to document this. Every detail, every image, every sound, every symbol. The crew may be gone physically, but their knowledge, their wisdom is here. We can learn from them." For hours, the explorers moved carefully through the ship. They discovered archives containing scientific data, star charts, and logs of diplomatic missions. Some rooms were clearly personal spaces, where the crew's interests, hobbies, and memories were recorded in holographic form. They saw echoes of laughter, debates, and experiments, lives frozen in time yet surprisingly vivid. The more the explorers learned, the more the ship seemed to respond. Doors opened before they arrived, hallways lit their path, and panels displayed symbols in anticipation of their curiosity. It became clear that the vessel was not abandoned in the sense of neglect. It was waiting for someone capable of understanding, capable of interacting intelligently and respectfully. Dr. Vance paused before a console displaying a simulation of a planet's surface. "Look at this. They were studying life, ecosystems, planetary development. These aren't just logs, they're lessons carefully preserved. The crew, they wanted knowledge to continue even after they were gone." Calum frowned. "Do you think they expected someone like us to find them?" Elena studied the glowing corridors. "I don't know, but we're here now, and it seems they're willing to share if we can prove ourselves, if we can understand what they valued." Hours turned into a day as the explorers delved deeper into the mysteries. They solved small puzzles that unlocked new sections of the ship, carefully observing patterns in the glowing symbols, understanding the logic embedded in the architecture. Slowly, a realization formed: this was more than a vessel. It was a living archive, a sentient repository of knowledge and experience, waiting for minds capable of comprehension. As the first day drew to a close, the explorers gathered in the central dome. The star map pulsed faintly, highlighting distant worlds they could scarcely imagine. The echoes of the ancient crew lingered in the lights, observing silently, waiting for what would come next. Elena spoke softly. "We've only just begun. This ship, this crew, they are a gift, a challenge, and a mystery, and it's up to us to meet it." For a long moment, they stood in silence, gazing at the holographic stars, feeling the weight of history and the spark of something entirely new. Humanity had found a relic of the past, but more importantly, a reflection of its potential. The ship had returned from the deep, and though its crew never truly left, it had chosen to share its knowledge with those who could rise to the occasion. And in that vast, silent chamber, the explorers realized that the journey ahead was not just about understanding the ship. It was about understanding themselves, and what humanity could achieve when curiosity, intelligence, and courage guided the way. The explorers had spent nearly a full day navigating the vast corridors of the ancient ship. Its silence was not empty. It was a quiet that demanded attention, a presence that seemed to watch every movement, every gesture. Captain Elena Reyes, Dr. Leora Vance, Lieutenant Aaron Cho, and Lieutenant Calum gathered again in the central dome, the massive star map hovering above them like a living sky. Dr. Vance traced her fingers over one of the holographic planets. "I keep thinking about this," she said. "These records aren't just for navigation. They're lessons. Every system, every mission, they left clues about how they thought, how they solved problems, how they lived. They wanted the next explorers to learn, not just see." Aaron, still studying the symbols that shimmered along the walls, nodded slowly. "It's like the ship itself is alive. I can feel it adapting when we move through it. Every time we solve something, a new path opens, almost like a test." Calum frowned. "A test for what?" Elena's gaze swept across the room. "Maybe to see if we are worthy, if we're capable of understanding, of thinking like them." A soft hum resonated through the chamber. The explorers froze. faint shapes appeared in the air, holographic forms of the ancient crew. They moved slowly, gestures deliberate, as though guiding the humans' attention toward the star map. Their faces were calm, serene, but there was an undeniable intelligence in the glow of their eyes. Dr. Vance swallowed. "They're observing. They want to teach us something." The ship's energy shifted subtly, and the star map expanded, showing constellations and planetary systems they had never seen before. Each pulsing dot seemed to invite attention, drawing them toward patterns and connections. Alina stepped forward. "Show us," she said, as if the ship could hear her. "Show us what we need to understand." The first puzzle revealed itself slowly. A series of floating symbols appeared around one of the stars. They were neither words nor numbers, but shapes that seemed to shift when observed from different angles. Aaron leaned close to his console, scanning. "I think they're coordinates," he said, "but not in any system I know. They are relational. We need to understand the pattern." Hours passed as the team worked together. The ship responded to their collective efforts, illuminating paths and opening doors to new chambers whenever they aligned the symbols correctly. They discovered a laboratory filled with floating spheres, each one projecting holographic ecosystems from distant planets. Some showed the growth of plants, others the behavior of animals or intelligent life forms. Every sphere contained a tiny universe preserved by the ship and the ancient crew. Dr. Vance marveled. They were explorers in every sense, scientists, diplomats, philosophers. They documented not just technology but life itself. Calum touched one of the spheres. The holographic scene expanded, showing a delicate balance of predators and prey, rivers and mountains, seasons and growth cycles. The motion was so vivid that he almost forgot he was standing inside a ship in the void of space. These simulations, they're teaching us observation, patience, critical thinking. They want us to think the way they did, Dr. Vance said. They want us to see patterns, understand systems, predict outcomes. As the explorers worked, the ship's holographic crew interacted more actively. Their movements were subtle, a hand pointing here, a tilt of the head there, but the humans gradually understood the guidance. It was not spoken, it was learned through observation and deduction. Alina felt a thrill of excitement. Humanity had always relied on curiosity, ingenuity, and teamwork to overcome challenges. Here, in the quiet vastness of space, these traits were being tested, refined, and recognized. The ancient crew had left a puzzle that could only be solved by minds willing to think, explore, and respect knowledge. A new chamber opened unexpectedly, revealing a room filled with light panels that pulsed in rhythm with the ship's energy. Floating above a central platform was a holographic sphere of incredible complexity, rotating slowly. Lines of light crisscrossed its surface, forming a lattice of patterns that seemed to shift when observed. "This is a problem," Aaron said. "It's not just data. It's a challenge, something we have to solve to move forward." Dr. Vance examined the sphere, tracing her fingers in the air. "It's relational. Each line reacts to our input. If we move one connection, others adjust. It's like a living network." "A thought experiment left behind for us." Alina took a deep breath. "Then we approach it like we always do, carefully, together, step by step." The team worked in harmony, testing hypotheses, observing results, and learning from mistakes. Hours stretched into the next cycle of the ship's internal clock. Slowly, they discovered the rules embedded in the sphere, how elements connected, how patterns evolved, and how small changes could cascade into larger effects. The ancient crew's logic was precise, yet flexible. They were teaching adaptability, reasoning, and foresight. As the last connection clicked into place, the sphere expanded, projecting a path forward through the ship. A corridor appeared where there had been none, leading to a chamber bathed in soft blue light. The explorers stepped inside and found a series of holographic stations, each displaying fragments of the crew's memories. Moments of laughter, debates over ethical questions, experiments in physics, art, and interstellar diplomacy. This is incredible, Doctor," Vance whispered. "It's like stepping into their lives, understanding their thoughts, their decisions." Aaron studied the holographic forms, realizing they were not static. They reacted to their presence, adjusting gestures, showing expressions that conveyed approval or encouragement. It was as though the ancient crew had left behind a living classroom, and humanity had just passed the first lesson. Alina felt a sense of pride. They were doing more than exploring. They were connecting with beings from the past, bridging centuries with understanding and intelligence. The ship had chosen them as worthy companions, acknowledging the very traits that made humanity remarkable: curiosity, cooperation, and the drive to learn. Hours later, they discovered a chamber filled with smaller star maps, each connected to the central dome through shimmering lines of light. The explorers realized these were plans for missions, scientific studies, exploration routes, diplomatic endeavors, all designed to communicate with civilizations beyond human reach. "These markers, they're like invitations," Calum said. "They're saying, learn, observe, and carry knowledge forward. Show the universe who you are." Dr. Vance's eyes sparkled with excitement. "And they trusted us to do it, to understand what they could not finish, to continue where they left off." As they worked, the ship seemed to respond with subtle gestures. Panels opening, corridors shifting, holographic crew members guiding their hands to key consoles. It was a silent dialogue, teaching them not through words but through discovery. The explorers spent cycles immersed in learning. They deciphered ancient scientific data, simulated experiments in zero-gravity environments, and tested predictions against the ship's holographic worlds. Each success opened a new layer, revealing deeper complexity and subtle elegance. Humanity's resourcefulness, creativity, and collaborative spirit shone brightly in every challenge. One moment stood out in particular. A holographic simulation projected a planet facing environmental collapse. The explorers had to stabilize the ecosystem using limited information, reasoning through cause and effect, predicting outcomes, and adjusting their actions carefully. Their solutions were imperfect, but the ship adapted to their decisions, offering hints and guidance without giving answers. This is what they wanted," Dr. Vance said. "They weren't testing strength or weapons or aggression. They wanted understanding. They wanted intelligence, patience, and judgment. Humanity were showing them we can rise to the challenge." Alina nodded. "It's not just about learning. It's about proving that we can think, solve, and create together, that we can honor the past while building the future." By the end of their second cycle within the ancient ship, the explorers had unlocked several new chambers, each more complex than the last. They had interacted with the holographic crew in increasingly sophisticated ways, forming a bond across centuries. The ship's consciousness seemed to recognize their efforts, offering subtle cues and encouragement without ever speaking directly. In a quiet moment, Alina reflected on the journey so far. The discovery of the ship had been unexpected, a chance find in the far reaches of Saturn's orbit. Yet it had revealed more than lost technology. It had revealed the enduring nature of intelligence, curiosity, and cooperation. Humanity was not alone in its drive to explore and understand. It had allies in the echoes of those who had ventured before. Dr. Vance broke the silence. "Do you realize what this means? If we can continue to learn from them, the knowledge we gain could change everything, our understanding of science, of life, of how to navigate the galaxy responsibly." Aaron smiled faintly. "And it started with simple observation and curiosity. We didn't fight anything. We didn't destroy anything. We thought, we learned, and the ship responded. That's the power of intelligence." Calum nodded. "It's remarkable and humbling. They left all this for us. They trusted us to understand it, to carry it forward." Alina felt a deep sense of connection to her crew, to humanity, and to the ancient explorers whose presence lingered in the ship. This was not just a mission. It was a dialogue across time, a lesson in patience, thought, and respect for knowledge. As they prepared to rest for the next cycle, the star map pulsed softly, showing new paths, new missions, and distant worlds waiting to be explored. The holographic crew lingered nearby, shadows of light and memory, watching over the humans who had proven themselves capable of learning, thinking, and understanding. And in the quiet hum of the ancient ship, the explorers realized the truth. The vessel was more than a relic. It was a mentor, a guide, and a bridge to the future. Humanity had passed the first challenges, but the journey was only beginning. The deep mysteries of the ship and the knowledge of the crew who never truly left awaited those willing to observe, reason, and explore. The ancient ship had returned from the deep, and humanity had begun to understand its message. Curiosity, intelligence, and cooperation were the keys, and in the vast emptiness of space, these traits shone brighter than any star. The explorers had grown accustomed to the subtle rhythms of the ancient ship. Its corridors, once alien and daunting, now felt like a living classroom. The holographic crew had become guides rather than mysteries, moving with them, watching them, teaching them the language of observation, logic, and foresight. Yet, as they delved deeper, the ship began to reveal something greater, something beyond simulations, lessons, or star maps. It started with a change in the star map itself. Where previously it had shown isolated systems, now clusters of stars began to glow in patterns, connecting to one another with shimmering lines of light. Elena leaned closer, her fingers hovering over the holographic display. "This is different," she murmured. "It's not just a map, it's a network." Dr. Vance nodded, her eyes wide with realization. "A network of civilizations. The ship isn't just recording data, it was preparing for communication, maybe even diplomacy." Aaron tilted his head, scanning the connections. They weren't just explorers or scientists, they were ambassadors, coordinators. They intended to bridge worlds, and now maybe we're meant to continue that work. Calum let out a low whistle. The scale of this, it's almost impossible to imagine. And the crew, they left all this behind as guidance. They trusted that someone could rise to the challenge. Elena felt a mix of excitement and responsibility. Humanity had discovered the ship, but the ship had chosen humanity. This was not merely about exploration. It was about proving that humans were capable of understanding the larger, interconnected picture of life and civilization in the galaxy. They followed the newly revealed lines of light to a chamber that radiated soft, golden illumination. At its center hovered a holographic globe, larger and more complex than any planet simulation they had seen. Each continent, each ocean, each city and forest flickered with activity. But it wasn't just a representation of one world. It contained layers upon layers of civilizations, past and present, showing interactions, conflicts, and collaborations. Dr. Vance leaned forward, awe in her voice. This is a living record. It's history, science, culture, everything combined. And it's not static, it's evolving. The ship somehow preserves not just information, but processes, the way civilizations grow, adapt, and influence each other. Elena's mind raced. It's teaching us patterns. How societies work, how to solve problems, prevent collapse, and encourage cooperation. It's a guide to civilization itself. Aaron's fingers hovered over the console, tracing lines between cities, nations, and worlds. "And these pulses," he said, pointing at faintly glowing dots, "they're like invitations. They're highlighting connections that were meant to happen, networks that were intended to form. The crew, they wanted the galaxy to connect, and they left this ship to make it possible." The team spent hours exploring this chamber, learning to interpret the glowing signals, observing simulations of diplomacy, trade, and collaboration. The holographic crew interacted more directly now, demonstrating negotiations, highlighting choices, and showing the consequences of actions taken in the simulations. Calum let out a laugh of astonishment. It's like they're teaching us the art of relationships across the galaxy. Not with weapons, not with force, but with understanding. Humanity could actually do this if we learn well enough. Dr. Vance's eyes sparkled. This is what HFY is about. Humanity standing out not through violence or dominance, but through intelligence, collaboration, and moral strength. That's why the ship responded to us. We showed curiosity, cooperation, and reasoning. Now we're being prepared to take the next step. Suddenly, the room pulsed with energy. The globe of civilizations expanded, spinning faster, revealing regions beyond their understanding. Light lines stretched outward, connecting systems across unimaginable distances. A voice, or perhaps thought, seemed to fill the chamber, not spoken words, but a presence. The ancient crew was communicating, not just as records or images, but as a conscious entity merged with the ship. Elena felt a chill of reverence. They've become part of the ship. They're still here, guiding, teaching, observing. Aaron stepped closer to the holographic globe, tracing a line of connection to a distant star system. "Look at this. It's a mission or maybe a recommendation." The ship is showing us how to send messages, how to establish trust, even across light years. They've laid out the path, but it's up to us to follow it. Calum's brow furrowed. "But how do we do that? We've never contacted civilizations beyond the solar system." "We don't even know if they exist." Dr. Vance smiled. "That's the point. The ancient crew planned for that uncertainty. They designed this ship to teach patience, observation, and reasoning. They wanted the next explorers to rise to the challenge, to make connections intelligently, respectfully, and creatively." Alina's mind raced with possibilities. Humanity had always relied on adaptability and ingenuity to survive and thrive. This was a chance not only to explore new worlds, but to prove that humans could contribute to a wider galactic society, not through conquest, but through understanding and collaboration. As they studied the globe, a sudden alert flickered on the panels. A faint energy disturbance had been detected near one of the systems highlighted in the network. It was not hostile. There was no aggression, no weapons detected, but the ship's sensors indicated an unstable spatial anomaly, a region where gravity and electromagnetic fields fluctuated unpredictably. Dr. Vance frowned. If that anomaly affects the pathway to these systems, it could disrupt the network. We may need to stabilize it before we can continue. Aaron nodded. And the ship, it seems to expect us to do it. That's why the anomaly is highlighted. It's a challenge. Alina took a deep breath. Then we approach it the way we've learned, carefully, with reasoning, observation, and collaboration. We don't fight it, we study it, understand it, and adapt. The explorers prepared for the anomaly, using the ship systems and the guidance of the holographic crew. The challenge was immense. Gravitational currents shifted unexpectedly, energy surges pulsed through the corridors, and simulations showed unpredictable changes in the surrounding space. Yet, with patience and careful planning, the team began to understand the anomaly's patterns. Dr. Vance pointed at a sequence of glowing panels. If we realign these conduits, we can stabilize the flow. It's like redirecting a river, not controlling it, just guiding it carefully. Calum worked alongside her, adjusting the conduits as Aaron monitored the energy readings. The holographic crew moved with them, suggesting angles, highlighting potential problems, and encouraging persistence. Alina coordinated, ensuring that every action was synchronized, that every decision was made collectively. Hours passed, but finally the anomaly began to stabilize. Energy surges smoothed out, gravitational currents aligned, and the pathway through the system glowed with steady light. The ship responded, opening new corridors and illuminating new connections in the star map. The holographic crew paused as if acknowledging the team's success. Dr. Vance smiled, exhausted but elated. We did it. We solved it. The ship, it recognized our effort, our intelligence, our collaboration. Alina nodded. And that's what the crew wanted. They wanted to see if humanity could rise to the challenge, not through force, but through thought, cooperation, and understanding. And we have. The explorers spent the next cycles reviewing what they had learned from the anomaly. They realized that the ancient ship was not just a tool for exploration or diplomacy. It was a repository of wisdom, a guide for civilizations, and a mentor for any species capable of learning, reasoning, and understanding. Calum looked around the chamber, awe in his eyes. I can't believe this. We're standing in a ship that holds centuries of knowledge, intelligence, and culture, and it chose us to continue its mission. Dr. Vance's voice was quiet, almost reverent. They trusted that we could understand them, that we could carry forward what they began, and we are proving that humanity is ready. Alina felt a sense of profound connection, not only to her crew and to humanity, but to the ancient explorers whose presence lingered in the ship. They had left this legacy, these challenges, and this guidance, trusting that someone would rise to the task, and humanity had begun to show that it could. The ship pulsed softly, corridors shifting to reveal new chambers filled with simulations, star maps, and interactive lessons. The explorers understood that each new challenge would prepare them for the greater task, bridging civilizations, fostering understanding, and carrying knowledge across the galaxy. As they rested for the cycle, Alina reflected on the journey so far. They had learned to observe, to reason, to collaborate, and to respect knowledge. They had faced the first true test of humanity's ability to interact with a sentient legacy without violence, relying instead on intelligence and moral judgment. The holographic crew lingered nearby, their forms glowing softly, watching, guiding, and waiting. They were not gone, they had never truly left. And humanity had proven that it was capable of meeting them halfway, understanding not just the ship's technology, but the ideals it represented. Alina looked at her team, pride swelling. We've done more than explore, we've begun to understand. And that understanding will guide us forward. The ship, the crew, the galaxy, they're all waiting. And we are ready. As the ship drifted through the void, carrying its living legacy of knowledge, the explorers felt a sense of purpose that stretched beyond their own mission. They were no longer just humans aboard an ancient vessel. They were partners in a dialogue across time and space, learning from those who had come before and preparing to shape the future with intelligence, cooperation, and wisdom. The ancient ship had returned from the deep, and humanity was learning not just to follow, but to rise, to think, to solve, and to connect. The journey ahead promised even greater revelations, and the explorers knew that the challenges would continue. But now they faced them not with fear or uncertainty, but with curiosity, courage, and the enduring strength of the human mind. The explorers had become deeply attuned to the rhythm of the ancient ship. Its corridors no longer felt like alien structures, but like the careful design of a teacher, a mentor who had been waiting centuries for minds capable of understanding. Every chamber held a new lesson, every holographic figure a guide, and every puzzle a test not of strength, but of intelligence and cooperation. As Captain Alina Reyes led her team through a previously undiscovered corridor, she noticed the walls were filled with symbols that seemed to pulse in unison with the ship's energy. Dr. Leora Vance studied them closely. "These are instructions," she said. "Not for machines, but for minds. They're guiding us to something important." Aaron Cho examined the readings. "The energy levels are higher here. The ship is reacting to us, anticipating our moves, preparing us for what comes next." Lieutenant Calum ran a scan across the floor, revealing panels embedded beneath the surface. "This is more than a pathway," he said. "It's a sequence. We have to move in the right order, follow the logic, or we might miss the next stage entirely." Alina nodded. "Then we follow carefully. The ship has shown us patience. Now it's our turn to be patient and thoughtful." They advanced through the corridor, solving intricate sequences that illuminated hidden doors and unlocked chambers filled with holographic simulations. Each simulation was more complex than the last. Ecosystems evolving, civilizations trading, conflicts resolving through negotiation rather than force. The explorers observed how small choices could ripple into profound effects, shaping societies and planets alike. "This is incredible," Dr. Vance whispered. "The ancient crew wasn't just recording history. They were teaching foresight, empathy, problem-solving. They left a blueprint for intelligent life, how to survive, thrive, and interact responsibly." Aaron pointed to one simulation where two civilizations negotiated over scarce resources. "Look at this. They're demonstrating compromise, strategy, and fairness. It's not just science, it's wisdom. And it's teaching us how to be better humans in the galaxy." Calum smiled. "We've learned from their puzzles, their anomalies, and their guidance. Now we're learning from their philosophy, their approach to life." As they progressed, the ship's corridors widened, revealing a massive chamber bathed in soft golden light. At the center hovered a holographic projection of the galaxy itself. Stars, planets, and civilizations shimmered in intricate patterns, connected by glowing lines that pulsed rhythmically. It was alive with information, yet more than information, it carried purpose. "Doctor." Vance stepped closer. This is the culmination. Every lesson, every test, every interaction, the ship is showing us the full network. How civilizations are connected, how knowledge flows, how cooperation can shape the future." Alina studied the projection, her mind racing. "The ancient crew intended to guide us not just to explore, but to contribute. They wanted humanity to join the larger network, to be a responsible, intelligent force in the galaxy." Aaron traced a glowing line connecting their solar system to distant stars. "It's an invitation. They've been waiting for someone capable of understanding, someone willing to learn, adapt, and act with thought and care." Calum looked at the holographic crew, who lingered nearby in gentle, glowing forms. "And they've decided that we're worthy. We passed the tests, we solved the challenges, and now we're being entrusted with something far bigger than ourselves." The room shifted, and a new series of holographic panels activated. They displayed scientific breakthroughs, artistic achievements, cultural records, and star maps leading to unexplored worlds. Each panel was interactive, allowing the explorers to dive deeper, analyze, and understand. It was a treasure trove of knowledge, carefully curated and preserved over centuries. Dr. Vance's eyes shone. This could change everything. Our understanding of physics, biology, interstellar travel, even diplomacy. The ancient crew left humanity a legacy of intelligence, creativity, and responsibility. Alina reached out toward one of the panels, watching as information flowed around her fingertips. "We have a choice," she said quietly. We can take this knowledge back to Earth, continue to learn from it, and use it to guide humanity into the wider galaxy. Or we can leave it untouched. But that's not why the crew left it for us. They trusted us to act, to carry their work forward. The holographic crew moved closer, their forms shimmering like sunlight on water. One figure raised a hand in a gesture of approval. Another tilted its head, observing the explorers' understanding and decision-making. Though silent, their presence conveyed a message. The responsibility had been accepted, and humanity had risen to the occasion. Aaron studied the star map again. There are paths to new worlds, missions that span centuries. The crew left guidance but not instructions. They expected intelligence, creativity, and judgment. That's what we've shown. That's why they're trusting us now. Calum smiled. It's amazing. We've learned not through force or domination, but through thinking, observing, and cooperating. That's the true strength of humanity. Dr. Vance nodded. HFY isn't just about surviving. It's about rising, learning, and proving that humans can think, create, and collaborate in ways that benefit more than just themselves. That's what we've done here, and that's what we'll continue to do. The explorers spent days within the chamber, absorbing the knowledge, simulating missions, and connecting the glowing lines of the galactic network. Each interaction taught them more about the delicate balance of life, the responsibility of intelligence, and the importance of ethical decision-making. They saw how civilizations could thrive or falter based on choices, cooperation, and understanding. Alina reflected on everything they had experienced. Humanity had always been defined by curiosity, ingenuity, and the drive to overcome challenges. Here, in the quiet halls of the ancient ship, those traits had been tested, refined, and recognized. They were no longer just explorers. They were inheritors of a legacy, trusted to carry knowledge and wisdom into the future. As the final cycle of their time aboard the ship approached, the explorers gathered in the central dome, the galaxy map glowing around them. The holographic crew formed a circle nearby, as if acknowledging the completion of the journey. Though silent, their presence radiated approval, pride, and hope. Dr. Vance spoke softly. We've done it. We've learned what the crew intended. We've shown intelligence, collaboration, and judgment. Now, we can bring this knowledge home and continue their mission in our own way. Aaron added, it's not just knowledge, it's understanding. They wanted someone who could see the bigger picture, who could make decisions that help not just humanity, but civilizations across the galaxy. Calum looked at the star map, tracing potential routes. The paths are clear now. We have the guidance, the wisdom, and the lessons. The rest is up to us. Alina felt a sense of awe. And that's exactly why the ship returned from the deep. It wasn't lost. It was waiting for someone who could learn, understand, and rise to the challenge. And we've done that. Humanity has passed the test. The ship's corridors shifted once more, opening new airlocks and pathways to the Odyssey. The explorers knew it was time to return home, carrying not just scientific knowledge, but a profound understanding of intelligence, morality, and cooperation. The ancient crew had never truly left. They had merged with the ship, guiding humanity from beyond time, offering lessons that spanned centuries. As the boarding party prepared to leave, the holographic crew lingered nearby, their forms shimmering like faint sunlight. They did not speak, but their presence conveyed a message. Humanity was trusted, capable, and ready to take its place among the stars. Alina looked at her team. We've been given a gift, she said. Not just technology or knowledge, but wisdom. The responsibility now belongs to us. We must honor it, use it wisely, and continue to learn. Dr. Vance smiled. And we will. Humanity has always risen to challenges, and this is the greatest challenge yet. Not just to survive, but to think, to create, and to connect with the wider universe. Aaron nodded. We've proven that humans can solve problems without violence, that we can think, learn, and collaborate. That's the real legacy the ship has given us. Calum added, and that's what HFY is about, humanity rising not through force, but through intelligence, cooperation, and understanding. That's what we've done here, and that's what we'll continue to do. The explorers stepped into the airlock, leaving the ancient ship behind. As they floated back to the Odyssey, the ship's glow pulsed one final time, as if acknowledging their success. The holographic crew faded gently, leaving behind the knowledge, wisdom, and star maps that would guide humanity into the future. Alina watched as the ship drifted into the void, no longer silent but alive with the echoes of its crew. They had returned from the deep, and humanity had proven worthy of their trust. The galaxy awaited, full of challenges, discoveries, and connections, and humans were ready to face them with intelligence, cooperation, and courage. The Odyssey turned toward Earth, carrying the greatest treasure humanity had ever discovered. Not weapons, not dominance, but understanding, wisdom, and the proof that human curiosity and intelligence could shine across the stars. The ancient ship's lessons would guide them, and the legacy of those who never truly left would live on in humanity's triumphs, choices, and journeys to come. And as the stars passed by, Alina realized the truth. The journey had only just begun. The ancient ship had returned to remind humanity of its potential, to inspire it to rise above limitations, and to show that the greatest power lay not in conquest, but in thought, collaboration, and the unyielding drive to understand. Humanity had passed the test. Humanity was ready. The ancient ship returned from the deep, but its crew never truly left.